Chapter 5 of Mr. Still's book has a subtitle, or begins with a title, I should say, Problems with and the Fed. Now, that's a book title by Congressman Ron Paul, so he's going to critique Ron Paul's book. And this begins on page 23 of No More National Debt, with a critique of Congressman Ron Paul, who, on page 24 of this book, is said to be for sound money. Bill says that he's for sound money, too. But he says that that doesn't have to be gold or silver. Well, that's true, it doesn't. But it has to be something. Sound money, he says, really means that the quantity is controlled by the government in the public interest. The quantity is controlled by the government in the public interest. That's what sound money is. The quantity of what? Well, he doesn't say. But that's not important, according to him. And he makes this quite clear. He goes on, quote, so it's not what backs our money. Another erroneous statement. There's so many of them in this book that it's incredible. He says it's not what backs our money that is important. It's who controls its quantity. Let's step back from this statement and take a deep breath. Bill is persuaded, like most people, that money was backed by gold. And that gold was really not the money, but rather gold notes or certificates were the money. Perhaps because he believes, as so many people seem to, that whatever passes from hand to hand is somehow money, even if it only promises to pay the money at best, or is simply a bogus note with numbers on it. This kind of muddled thinking by an alleged anti-banker worked wonders on behalf of the confiscatory credit for money swap that was orchestrated by those bankers. Out with the bogus notes, in with the people's gold and silver. It's all the same, right? In fact, folks like Bill still believe worthless credit is far better than gold or silver. Don't believe me? Stick around. As Dave Wilbur puts it, fool's gold is green. And when you consider the materialistic money orientation of most Americans, our level of ignorance about basic economics is appalling. But again, Bill and most of his opponents argue heatedly for and against backing money with gold, when the fact is gold and silver were, by law, declared to be the money, which was never backed by anything. As to what we should use as money, take another deep breath and look at Bill Still's book at page 31, where he says, quote, ideally, money should be valueless, that means worthless, and ubiquitous, oh, that's a nice word, that means omnipresent, it means everywhere. You know, in the words of John Adams, who said of the worthless colonial script of his day, it was as plenteous as oak leaves. That's ubiquitous, okay? And it was also valueless. Now, the Federal Reserve is working hard to make this economic dream come true. Their credit devices are now worth approximately 3% of their original value in 1914. How long before they become totally valueless and therefore valuable as money, according to Bill Still? Voltaire prophesied over 2 centuries ago that, quote, all paper money reaches its ultimate value, zero, end quote. So the future for Federal Reserve notes begins when they become totally worthless, which is good to know, because I was planning to use them for kindling. But that would have been a stupid mistake, right? And for those of you who are unemployed or would just like to move up in the world, there may be a future for you in the field of credit. But if you run into any snags, just tell the judge about America's need for monetary reform, and that money should be valueless and ubiquitous. That a popular school of economic reform told you how worthless, irredeemable notes are actually money, and that you've been helping the Federal Reserve kickstart our sagging economy by writing lots of worthless checks as another form of valueless and ubiquitous money. You should be able to enlist a Harvard University-trained lawyer who is intelligent enough to understand your brilliant argument. Bill Still found a smart Harvard professor in Robert G. G. Nadelson, who says that what our constitutional forefathers really meant by the phrase to coin money, found in Article 1, Section 8, Paragraph 5 of the Constitution, what that really meant was to coin paper, not gold and silver. Bill Still actually gives space to this in his book, and we addressed this nonsense in a previous message in this series.